I'm back! This time, I'm doing a face cam for this creepypasta the entire video, rather than just have me tell a story over a title card. That's because I recently saw a video where Mr. Creepypasta used this VTuber thing to where they have this animated YouTube persona talking, so I decided, hey, might as well jump in on the trend by having a face cam while I read. The creepypasta we're reading is called Super Mario 128. It's about this scrapped Mario game and this fictional release, and how one of the tech demos went on to become Pikmin. I'll read it. Super Mario 128, written by Anonymous. Mario has been a gaming icon for decades, and has been in more games than can be counted, although no year in recent memory has gone past without some type of Mario game being released. Series fans will remember the nearly decade-long drought of Mario platformers. From 1997 to 2005, there was only one new Mario platformer released, Super Mario Sunshine. During the second part of this drought, after Sunshine's release, the mysterious Super Mario 128 was the main focus of the fanbase. No concrete information was given on the game, and eventually series creator Shigeru Miyamoto claimed it had simply been a series of test concepts that were never intended to be an actual game. There's this tech demo picture where it shows 128 Marios on this Monopoly type board, and it turns into pizza sometimes. All those Marios would go on to become Pikmins for the Pikmin series. The mystery faded in from memory as the Mario drought finally ended and most people forgot about the game that had once been the center of every Mario fan's imagination. The Mario drought corresponded with a bad era for Nintendo in terms of console sales. The N64 and GameCube did not have the financial success of the earlier Nintendo Entertainment System and SNES or the later Wii. For a very proud company that relied solely on video games to make money, this is quite upsetting for the higher-ranking employees that were attached to a company and felt its success or failure reflected on them personally. Nintendo started working on a sequel to the 1996 Super Mario 128 shortly after the game was released, but during the late 1990s, it became clear that Nintendo was not winning the console war. The Super Mario 64 sequel was restarted from scratch, since the company believed that it was not a substantial enough improvement over the original to turn the tides of the market battle. Seeing the generally more realistic and violent games on Sony's PlayStation, the market leader, Nintendo considered making a Mario that was closer in tone to what the public seemed to want. There was quite a bit of internal conflict over how far to go with this new direction, and the new Mario was clearly not going to be ready until Nintendo's next console, the GameCube. The only hint of this that was released to the public was a comment by Miyamoto that he thought Mario and Luigi should act more like grown-ups in their games for the then to be soon released GameCube. The Mario project was ultimately split into two games, Luigi's Mansion, which reflected on the darker tone that many felt the series should turn to, although it was still toned down quite a bit compared to what some Nintendo executives and developers wanted, and Super Mario Sunshine went in a complete opposite direction. Both were released within a year of the GameCube, and Nintendo felt confident that their new system and Mario games would return them to their former glory as a market leader. As those familiar with gaming history know, they didn't. The GameCube did even worse in market share than the N64, and the mass market's taste shifted even more toward violent, realistic games. During this period, the somber mood of Nintendo intensified, and the darker Mario project was revived. This time, codenamed Super Mario 128. It isn't exactly clear what happened at Nintendo during this period. As we know, nothing called Super Mario 128 was ever released or publicly shown. The source that revealed the internal strife at Nintendo during the later N64 era refused to discuss what was happening during the time of the GameCube's failure, but released a prototype of Super Mario 128 online that can be played on the Wii Homebrew channel. The following is a recollection of my time playing it. The game was clearly in early beta. The title screen was nothing but white text saying Super Mario 128 against the black background. There was no options menu or save file selection either. After the title screen, the game started. Bowser's laugh from Super Mario 64 looped in the background while a plain text box displayed this dialogue. Mario, I have kidnapped Princess Peach. She will not live to see the sunrise tomorrow unless you take her place. You know what to do and where to go. Do not try to stop me unless you want to hasten her death. The game certainly was going for a darker tone. After I made the text box go away, I was thrust right into gameplay. The first thing I noticed was Mario's character model. His body was as detailed as in Mario Galaxy, although a little more realistic, proportioned, but his head was taken from his Super Mario 64 character model. Obviously his design wasn't finished yet. The setting was a sky level. There were some simple platforms floating in the air. The rest of the area was just blue sky with several clouds scrolling in the background. The clouds seemed more realistic than the usual cartoony puffs in Mario games. They were quite graphically impressive. There was no music or full voice samples from Mario, but there were sound effects and grunts when he jumped. The jumping was more subdued than in other Mario games. Mario didn't jump as high as he usually did and had little control over his movement in the air. The different types of jumps in every 3D Mario weren't present. I played through the level. There was nothing especially notable about the gameplay. Enemies didn't seem to have been added yet. I just jumped from platform to platform, and it wasn't very challenging. As I went through the level, I noticed the graphics gradually changing. The sky became more and more cloudy until it was entirely composed of clouds, and the cloud background gradually turned to a dark gray. After this, it started to rain. I reached a small platform with a toad on it. It looked like the Super Mario Galaxy model. When I landed on its platform, dialogue appeared. We don't want you anymore, Mario. You don't belong here. Just give Bowser what he wants. Die. After the text box went away, I no longer had control of Mario. Mario stood there for a while, then turned around and walked off the platform. His body seemed to go limp as he fell. Eventually, it was revealed that there was a realistic, modern city under the sky. The buildings looked neglected, but there were people on the street. Mario hit the ground with a realistic sounding thud, but he didn't explode or show any visible wounds. He just lay there. The people in the city just kept walking by, ignoring Mario, although I thought I saw a few glance at him with cold, somewhat angry expressions. This went on for a few minutes and eventually people stopped appearing. Mario got up. I was back in control, but he couldn't jump at all and had a reduced walking speed. The large buildings of the city didn't appear to be interactive, so I just kept walking down the street for a while. Eventually, I found a small house that seemed out of place among the larger buildings. When I approached the house, Mario opened it. The screen went white and some black text appeared. House of Torn Memories. This seemed to be the level title. When I pressed the button, the screen faded back to Mario. He was inside the house from before. Everything seemed bigger than it should be. It wasn't gigantic, but scaled as if Mario was a very small child. The house was filled with normal objects covered in dust and signs of neglect. There were no people on the ground floor. Just things like broken lamps and rotting food. I found a door that opened to a set of stairs going down, leading to a basement. In the basement, I found a duplicated couch and a broken TV. However, what really caught my attention was what was on the couch. Two skeletons that appeared to be children. Judging by their size, due to the scale of the house, they were still larger than Mario. I was starting to get really disturbed by now. How had a Mario game containing this been programmed to this extent? I went up to the skeletons and tried pressing buttons to interact with them or the TV, but nothing seemed to happen. I was about to turn around and look elsewhere when I was nearly scared to death by the deafening loud crash coming from the game. What appeared to be Bowser seemed to have broken through the floor from below and landed in front of Mario. I said appeared to be, because this was nothing like the way Bowser was usually rendered. The reptilian monster in the game had Bowser's basic brownish yellow and green color pattern, but looked far more threatening than any Bowser model I had seen before. It was not proportioned like the Bowser I knew. Its arms and legs were far longer in relation to his body, and ended in razor-sharp claws. The green shell didn't look like it had spikes glued on it. They were more jagged and organic looking than with the same dark green color as the rest of his shell had. The face had a small but intense pure black eyes and a mouth full of jagged teeth that took up far more of the face than it should have. Mario was cowering in fear from this thing. A dialogue box appeared. "You've kept me waiting long enough, Mario. I will taste flesh soon. Will you finally surrender, or does Peach have to die?" I didn't have control. Mario just stood there, shivering for several seconds before nodding his head. Bowser impaled Mario with his claws. There was no blood, but it was clearly from the animation and sound effects that the sharp digits of Bowser's hand had gone through Mario's body. In one swift motion, Bowser dragged Mario up to his face and bit his head off. Again, there was no blood or graphic details left behind on Mario's neck. Just Mario's character model being destroyed. The screen faded to black, and white text, another level name appeared. Mario's internal home. Mario's character model was whole again when the level started. It was the only thing on the screen besides the black background. It was floating as if in space. I could somewhat control it, but it felt like I was deciding the general direction of which Mario would tremble then fully control him. As I drifted towards no apparent destination, voices faded in. They were echoing, deep voices telling Mario that he is worthless, that the world no longer had any use for him, and everyone would be better off if he was dead. High-pitched crying was layered into the voices after a bit. It sounded like it was supposed to be Mario's cries. This really disturbed me, and I thought myself fight back tears. For reasons I couldn't understand, this was affecting me on an emotional level. The voices and aimless wandering went on for several minutes until I spotted a gray light speck in the distance. I moved towards it. It took a very long time to reach and grew closer at a much slower rate than it should have. When I was close enough to make it out, I saw that it was a tombstone. It was a very plain one with cracks in several places. When I got right out to the tombs, next to a tombstone, I could see writing on it. I turned off the system right after reading it. I'm not going to play the beta or hack or whatever this was again. There was a single word written on the tombstone: innocence. And that's Super Mario 128. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and comment to see if I should make more of these videos with my face in them in the future.